Alright guys, be looking for back more Little Nightmares. Again, like the last few episodes, we're going to continue on with listening to podcasts, because who fucking cares? Let's see. Where did they all go? There it is.
Just like, have a good time with it. Oh, speaking of those convertibles, that was cool. I don't know, I'm a sucker for like little changes up into things, but I love the use of the dash cams, right? Because obviously the usual method of doing things is that you have, one team member in the front seat driving, one team member in the back seat driving, so that your cameraman and your sound person can be in the other two seats. In a convertible, there ain't no room for that, and also the top's down, so sound is just like out of the window. And so I love this idea of instituting little dash cams, as well as like having the follow car to film them as well. I thought it was a really unique way of filming it.
So I wonder,
giving them an opportunity to change vehicles.
In between the blip on the Amazing Race, Phil goes and shoots, 2 more seasons of Tough as Nails. We have talked extensively about all the conversations in the damn van. Jess, do you feel like that they felt like, okay, well, I don't know exactly what the overlap is between Amazing Race crew and Tough as Nails crew, or if it's just like Phil has a knowledge base of how to do this now. Do you think that any part of that was, okay, we've mastered this on Tough as Nails, we can do it on the Amazing Race?
Yeah, well, I think you might even hypothesize that sometimes Tough as Nails could serve as kind of a test bay for Amazing Race in that way. I mean, Phil is not as involved in the day-to-day production decisions, but he could have certainly said, oh yeah, we did this thing with the damn vans, and it worked well. And I am amazed that it did work as well as it did, though, because I feel like putting a dash cam on a convertible and not having a sound guy in there, how are you getting anything that anybody is saying?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that they're probably mic'd with lavs on their person, and then the follow car probably has the sound equipment in there, so they're able to hear what they're saying in the car while they're able to get the dash cam and also like the rear view cam from and then also like the follow car is able to still like film into the car.
I am picturing the follow car like just with like the sunroof open and a giant boom mic going outside of the car,
like oversized, like the size of the car.
Yes, like just kind of covering, like there's a shadow cast of the car.
Big windscreen, sure.
Yep.
Sure, yeah. So, again, technically, they outdid themselves to cover all of this, even if the tasks are not super exciting here in this hour of The Amazing Race. Just one last thing on the mac and cheese, that there was some talk about, like, this cheese is so gross.
I don't even think the dog would eat the cheese.
I don't even think the dog would eat the cheese, but Ryan and Dusty showed up, and Dusty had no problem.
No, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. So that goes to show that not all dogs. Dusty is no discerning tongue. Though I think Ryan was the one right that's like, it's not much worse than what I had in prison, which is just, if we needed ever a better statement on our justice system, I think that's what we need to look to.
Yeah.
And also, like, that's the kind of thing that I don't want people saying about local delicacies.
That's right.
That cheese is alive, but it wasn't really anything worse than in prison.
Okay.
I mean, I saw Shawshank Redemption. They had maggots in the food in Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, so for all the Tom Wamsgams out there that are researching an upcoming trip to a penitentiary, then you might want to research trying the mac and cheese.
What the fuck? I didn't realize that
Frank crawled through 5 miles of mac and cheese before he got over to the other side.
One of the interesting things I thought in this episode, from an editing perspective, I feel like we got a lot of Raquel and Kayla.
Kayla, we are coming in first today. Today's our day.
Today's our day. You only need to come in first once. We got this. And ultimately, it ends up with them in second place. Should we be reading anything into this new development in Raquel and Kayla's edit?
If anything, the fact that they said they only need to come in first once is kind of a tell. They could have made a bigger meal out of that, though. I feel like we could have gotten them saying it like directly to the camera and not necessarily to each other, and they could have, they could have spotlighted it a little bit harder. But I think they're strategy this leg, which is like just glom onto the team that's in first place and stick with them because there's 3 other teams back there. That's a sound strategy.
And then undercut them when they can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm of a couple of minds about this because it really does, you really look at these as glaring underlines, right, as to a final outcome, especially when we get to the post-pit stop thing where they're like, we're getting better every time. You usually don't have teams that are not in the hunt to win saying something about getting better every time exclusively in an interview. And so this was a really big underline for me. It's interesting that it comes out now. I do wonder if part of it is like we had so much time dedicated to like Akbar and Sherry, and now that they're gone, we can finally find out more about teams like Mikkel and Kayla, who were a little lower under the radar in the first half of the race. That it's just like, okay, we're getting to know them more, right? Between them talking about losing their jobs, moving in with their parents as a result of their temporary unemployment, that it's just, part of me is saying it's just a bit getting to know you. Part of me is saying, yeah, this might be the Joey and Kelsey, like, it was there the entire time. They're going to pull off a win at the end. I'm really not sure, and I guess that's a testament to just how the Amazing Race endgame is, how, for lack of a better term, kind of fluky it is at the final 3, that really we've seen the best edited teams come in 3rd place. We've seen some of the worst edited teams come in 1st place.
This episode of Rob's Podcast is sponsored by our friends over at KiwiCo. KiwiCo delivers enriching, hands-on experiences that'll spark curiosity, to keep your children. Let's talk about the detour from this week. Row your boat, or gently down the stream. Now, I don't have a good sense of actually which one was harder. I wonder if you didn't work together. I could see gently down the stream actually being a much more difficult task. Jess, does this new sort of rubric that we're working on of the task that sounds easier is actually harder? We saw a lot of the teams opt for gently down the stream. Sounds like a lazy river, nice relaxing afternoon. I think that one was actually probably more difficult.
Honestly, yeah, if you were by yourself, it definitely was. Like you said, Rob, if you have other teams working on it with you, you could knock it out a little bit faster. But also, I think if you've never been kayaking, you could look at row your boat and say, I don't know if I really want to do that. Oh, but they all have been kayaking. They just went kayaking. Maybe they were all saying, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, I think that's 100% it, because we saw, basically except for Ryan and Dusty, like, everyone had problems with the kayaking. So if you start another leg, it says, all right, go kayaking. You're like, nope, I did that once. Never again, please. You cannot make me go kayaking. Even though I would say I think on paper, row your boat is the better option if you don't have cooperation, because it really does seem like, Ryan and Dusty, with the exception of tipping their boat over, were just able to kind of power through it. So if you had the wherewithal to be able to row your boat, it seemed like the simpler and easier task to do overall.
Yeah. Do you feel like it was a fair assessment to say that the other task was going gently down the stream? But that body of water did not seem like it was a stream. I don't know what was gentle.
It looked gentle. It was a gentle ride, but it was clearly an ocean.
Okay. All right.
Well, I think what you do is, do you do row your boat, or one fish, two fish? Would that be the way to go?
I mean, that doesn't really...
Yeah.
It doesn't gel, Mike. They don't fit together.
Another Dr. Seuss thing for kayaking?
Yeah, and it's Dr. Seuss from France. I feel like if anything, I think you'd call the one where you had to pull the fish out, one fish, two fish, and the other one be red fish, blue fish.
There you go.
Oh, Rob, that's awesome. We should do that. I don't know if the Seuss, society would have sued or Seussed for perhaps, infringement and use of products, but if they got the rights to do so, I think that is a perfect name for the detour.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about our teams. So Penn and Kim, they're going to work with Raquel and Kayla, and they're going to work on Gently Down the Stream. We've heard earlier in the season about Penn's superpowers when Just what task was that? Where he was assembling the puzzle in the first leg, right?
Oh,
Yeah. Kim says Penn has an amazing memory, and we got to see that in this leg of the race. I recently did a podcast with RHAP contributor Jacob Sager-Weinstein about 6 steps to improve your memory, and he outlined some different tactics that people can use to try to remember like long lists of things. And I think that what he was suggested was very similar to what Penn ends up doing here. Okay, I got to turn all of the things we have to remember into something else that might be a little bit more memorable.
Right, and I think Sophie talked about this a bit as well, right, in one of the Survivor podcasts when we talk about that challenge where you have to memorize symbols, right? There's often this idea of like, oh, turn it into a story, or like assign a letter to each one, and then just remember a string of letters or a number as well. That was the real key to unlock it. It's like this associative memory, almost. That it's not just rote memory of memorizing facts. If you have an association to it, then you're much more likely to remember it than just blankly reading it off.
Yeah. Although I have to say,
it's mnemonics.
Yeah, some of the things that they were saying, like, okay, this is that, and it was like the Japanese flag, and I was like, that looked nothing like a Japanese flag.
Yeah, I thought Japanese flag is a white fish with a red dot on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was a black and white fish. Yeah, I agree. That was one that I sort of cocked my head a bit about.
All right, well, whatever it took to get them to remember. Again, if that's what they think the Japanese flag looks like, then that's a great way to remember it. Again, these are not flag experts. We have established this earlier in the race.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Though I'd love this starting the one off as the purple fish was called Barney. I think that was very much like, only 90s kids remember purple Barney fish.
Okay, so we see Ryan and Dusty. They are going to be the only ones working on the other task. That they said that the other hard part about it was like pulling the fish up from the chain.
Yeah, I imagine these were like, I don't actually know if these were like, I don't know, probably some sort of plaster fish or something, but I would imagine they were probably attached to a fairly heavy anchor to like still say submerged, and so I would imagine having to pull all that up to grab the fish is probably intense.
The controls of this are such shit. It's like, how are you supposed to do all this?
Exuberance, I would say, just flooding the boat with water.
It's like, it's square to run. It's fucking
the boat, like the construction of the
right
boat.
stick
Because
to
if you were in a
control
real
this.
kayak, that would not be a problem. Water just goes over the top of the boat, and you're fine. And you get a little bit in your lap, whatever. This boat, it was like a skeletal frame of a kayak.
Like, really, you need to use
and every time you tipped it over, like, it was like a giant bowl.
It would be so much easier if, like,
filled up with water. It was, I've never seen a kayak like this.
Well, for Ryan and Dusty, that they were going to get
but
wet,
it's like,
boy.
It's hard
That's
to control the flashlight
and
when you're also
they certainly
trying to
did because they ended up in the drink, Mike.
Yeah, and Dusty was left dog paddling, unfortunately. But they're able to get back up, right? The infamous Amazing Race edit of, oh no, what's happening? Cut to commercial, cut back from commercial. They're doing okay. I guess it was a little bit, more quality over function, to Jess's point, that, like, the big to-do about this kayaks were they're transparent. You can see through them. But I guess maybe they sacrificed that in order to, not have water get sluiced into them.
So, yeah, Ryan and Dusty, they had a little bit of panic. They flipped the boat over. They were able to regroup, and they didn't lose any fish. They were able to get through it. They walked away from the task very, very happy. Here's Dusty.
Dude, you murked that, dude.
Yeah, dude, you murked that, dude.
What? You what that?
Murked. Yeah.
Murked?
Mike, you said it was a little murky. Yeah.
Yeah, murky water, so maybe
that
makes sense. Maybe you said murfed?
No, murked. You murked it. Yeah, the murf challenge would be if you had to climb up very high, then you murfed it.
Is it like a portmanteau of like magnificent work?
No, I think so I actually looked this up on the Urban Dictionary just to make sure that I knew what I was talking about. Murked is short for like a mercenary. Came in there and you accomplished your task.
Ryan is a real Jack Reacher type.
Yeah. No, those guys didn't come back. Those were the guys from the train. Yeah. But okay, so dude, you murked that dude. So hopefully we murk this podcast today.
Yeah, is that the sequel to Dude, Where's My Car? Dude, you murked that dude?
Dude, you murked that dude.
I mean, was this before or after Dusty shook himself to get all the water off?
More
right
too.
before, I think. Yeah. Okay. So meanwhile, Lulu and Lala and Aruna and Natalia, they're gonna work together too. They had some poor timing. I guess they showed up right when the boat was leaving.
Yeah, so this is, again, like Raquel and Kayla vocalized perfectly at the Mac and Cheese, despite a little bit of drama, right, when, like, they were following them and Penn speaks his fluent French to get them there, and then they sort of, like, they missed the turd, and Raquel and Kayla don't say they missed the turd, but Raquel and Kayla basically vocalized, when you're at the front of the pack and there are teams behind you, it incentivizes you to work together. It does not incentivize you to work together when you are in the back of the pack, because in that case, you know, what position are you getting yourself in? The best you're doing is putting yourself right in it with the other team, as opposed to the net positive would be if you work by yourself, you have a chance of a leapfrogging them. Now again, it works out in Lulu and Lala's case in that, you know, they are able to beat out Arun and Natalia, but like, it feels incredibly self-destructively selfless for the two teams that know they are in last place to be like, yeah, we'll just work together on this one. I'm sure Ryan and Dusty, you know, the requisite weak team that they are of this season, will surely get tripped up, and clearly we will be the ones that are not in last place.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I can think of is that maybe they were gambling that whatever the roadblock was, they would be better at it. But that's a big gamble. You don't want to add something else to your stress. You still have to do that whether or not you work with the other team.
Yeah, I have the episode open, and I'm just looking at the scene where Lulu and Lala hand in their answer. We see they put up on the screen what Lulu and Lala got wrong. They do not put up on the screen what Arun and Natalia handed in. So I don't know if they all just went up at the same time and like said, "Here's our thing."
Yeah, and in that case, like we said, that's the wrong thing to do, right? If you're Arun and Natalia, you're like, hey, you do your thing first, right? Like, you go see the Wizard of Oz, see if he melts you, and then I'll see how I play my actions based on that.
And just, didn't Arun and Natalia already learn this lesson the hard way in the leg that they were, again, this is 19 months ago, but where Natalia, one of the things they learned was that she gave the answer to a bunch of teams on how to put the bagpipes together and said, and then they all left without her, and then she said, I can't be helping these other teams.
I mean, there was a 19-month layoff. Maybe she just forgot.
They forgot. They said they weren't going to do that anymore.
Oh, I did it again.
Man.
Yeah. Although,
bad habits die hard.
Yeah, I think that maybe there was just like a lack of confidence on both of the teams. They're like, okay, there's no way either of us are going to get this. We have to work together.
Yeah, I mean, that might have been it. Like, this is how the only way we survive. But it's got to be awkward. Like, if you both choose the same detour and you're both just sitting there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you get through that without, like, at least acknowledging the presence of the other team.
Yeah.
Well, here's what you do, is especially if you know you have a ringer on your team like Penn, the other person plays defense, right? They're getting in their face being like, can you tell me about where you were born? Like, what's the first memory you have? Have you ever fallen in love and just, like, really get personally into their business so that it distracts them from the fish outside while your partner is booking all the fish down in their brain?
Or you could even pretend you're working with them, have your partner do the fish duty, and you're just like, oh, I saw that one. That one was green and blue. Oh, and there's an orange one there. You guys remember there's green and blue and orange, and then you start saying names of colors.
Does the fact that there was still a roadblock that had to come up change the calculus on this at all?
I mean, I think it does, because I think you have to assume, like, you know what I always say is, like, you really need to factor in, like, there needs to be at least one more task in front of you if you're going to do anything risky.
Because maybe it's like, okay, look, let's get through this, and then let's hope Ryan and Dusty got a flat tire, and then maybe they get eliminated on this leg of the race.
Yeah, Ryan and Dusty, who haven't finished lower than third place. They definitely did poorly on their task, and they got lost, and we're going to beat them in the roadblock.
Sure. We're grasping at straws here. But we see the bottom two teams. They go back. And this time, Mike, they're going to divide and conquer.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. There's 4 of them. There's 10 fish, fairly easily to memorize, and yeah, they get it on the second try. What is interesting is we do see Ryan and Dusty. Now, they did get the tipped over canoe, but they did get back at about the same time as Aruna and Natalia and Lulu and Lala got back from their first trip. So if we're talking about a balanced detour, it is unlike the kayak in that it did seem fairly balanced. Not taking on that much water, and that it did seem to take fairly the same amount of time, provided if you do have some like natural human error that comes with pulling up the fish.
I wish both of these tasks were 15 times harder, because they also had my favorite thing, which is they were right next to each other.
Yes.
And there could have been the opportunity, like one of these teams needed to be really bad at it so that they would have to switch.
Well, Jess, we've seen that a lot post-blip. I think that all of the detours have been next to each other, where I feel like that I wonder if there's sort of like one base camp.
This is the first time I've actually seen them point at the... I guess the Switzerland one also had the arrow pointing to each of the detours. But I like that. I think that makes it more exciting, as long as it's not a total nothing burger of a task like these were.
Well, and I think what it could have been more so was if we remember the first task from the first episode of season 32, right? Wasn't that where they have to like find the 2 matching fish and then line up the lock with the right numbers to unlock it? Like maybe even something more of like a 2-pronged process instead of like, oh, of course you got all the fish, because why would you have missed one of the fish when the task was to match them? You know, I'm talking about the rowing version. Then yeah, maybe if there was an extra step involved in there, it might have provided an opportunity to at least like change things up a bit, to not make 4/5 of the team refuse to do it just because they see the word kayak in it.
Right. You know, borrow something from Survivor. You know, retrieve a bag of puzzle pieces at every stop and then put your puzzle together. I think Amazing Race has literally done that task before.
Yeah, do the infamous fish puzzle that just Jatia did, right? Where like everything only fits together in one way and all the fish have to intersect.
Sure.
We have all the plastic fish already.
How's this for a detour? And this is again kind of Survivor inspired. What if there's the detour is 2 different ways to procure the puzzle pieces?
Can you do it that time?
And then the final challenge is do the puzzle.
That's interesting. I really like that. If the detour is like truly 2 paths that then converge onto a central point, if it's like combining an additional task with a detour, I think could be very fun, and then really does help weigh that pros and cons thing of, you know, the final result. What is going to be the fastest way to that final result based on like your own personal preferences?
All right, well, let's talk about the roadblock, where who's feeling knotted up? Probably everybody after eating that mac and cheese.
Except Ryan and Dusty.
They should have to do it twice then?
Foam roller. Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure Dusty already has worms, so just add some maggots on top of that.
You gotta be careful with that. You gotta be careful.
Or he might be happy because he's already taken his like deworming pills, so he's not gonna have the worms.
Okay. All right. So Phil tells us a hole in your net can be bad for business.
No.
That's why we need the racers to fix some holes in the nets. Penn's going to do it. Kayla is going to do it. This is when Penn is going to put on his glasses. Kim says, Penn, you're so good with knots.
Not. Was he an Eagle Scout? Because he gives Eagle Scout vibes.
Maybe.
Oh my god.
Let me also just say, I know Penn is incredibly self-deprecating, right? I love his comment about how he has to put his glasses on every time Ryan and Dusty take their shirts off to make the balance in the force. But I gotta say, I don't know, maybe like it's my own aesthetic. I think Penn looks really good in those glasses.
You like the glasses, okay.
I really like those glasses. Like, that's actually my preferred style of glasses, is like that thick rim. Like, I have blue light glasses, and I specifically requested that style. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like the long face. I just really like the thick frame glasses.
I actually have a pair of those. I just couldn't find them this morning, so I have different ones on.
Yeah. Yep. Here's what Penn said.
What?
He said that.
Yeah, I mean, these things have come in handy. The ladies, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I actually don't know what he means.
I don't like Amazing Race porn music.
It's like second week in a row,
No.
right?
Put that pack on the show anymore. 3 is not the charm.
Did they borrow that music from like Survivor rib music?
Well, I don't know. Well, Rob, if you play it again, does it not sound like the beginning of Freak?
Yeah, I mean, these things have come in handy.
No.
The
Okay, this
ladies,
is
you know what I mean?
Okay. And
Doesn't it kind of sound like it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me see. Okay, here we go.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes if you're a freak, you do know how to tie knots.
Fair point, Rob.
Yeah. Okay.
Why do you think Penn did so well in it?
Yeah. But Penn, I mean, this episode, he ties knots, speaks French, has superpowers in terms of memorization. Penn might be a superhuman.
I mean, they are doing extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
They have never been in danger of getting eliminated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, probably the low moment was when he had the clue. I was like, this was too easy. This can't be this easy.
It's true.
We have.
You have to have them as your pick to win. Like right now, they are the clear front runners. Even Ryan and Dusty are up there, but you know they're probably going to go through a public place with squirrels, and it's just all going to go to hell for them.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably even if you were going to try to prognosticate. Ryan and Dusty, Kim and Penn. Like are Ryan and Dusty just in a slump right now?
I mean, I think they did not benefit from the fact that, again, things felt pretty hamstrung in this leg.
The foam
Ryan
roller.
and Dusty, where they had no opportunity to ascend past third place, right? Just because of the fact of the group departure and Kim and Penn and Raquel and Kayla working together for most of the leg, they had no opportunity to be able to pass them up. So I think Ryan and Dusty are probably still chalk number one, but Kim and Penn are very quickly becoming number two. I mean, let's look at the facts. There have been 7 legs so far. Except for the first leg, every other leg has been won by either Ryan and Dusty or Kim and Penn. I think we're really getting into like a season 9 hippies and frat bros situation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Back and forth. Okay. So, all right. We see Penn is working on his knot. So is Kayla. Ryan and Dusty get there. They're gonna go and work on it. I actually played that clip at the wrong moment. Dusty said Ryan murked this challenge.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't murk the other two.
He didn't murk because they were doing it together. That didn't make as much sense. They flipped the boat
more
over.
Of a co-murk.
Yeah, this was the murk.
This is
that dude.
Yeah, you murked that dude. You murked that dude.
I feel like any task where you're sitting quietly doing something small with your hands,
I
don't know if you can label that murking.
You murked that net, dude.
Yeah, you murked that coloring book. You murked that needlepoint.
I mean, if there is one person to create excitement out of the most mundane activities, it is indeed Dusty. I don't know if you caught another Dustyism in the beginning of the leg, where he talked about how, we need to get back to what we know how to do, which is sticking together and I think breaking our foot in front of other people, is I believe what he said.
Wow.
I don't know if he's prognosticating like a David Connor situation, or maybe it's more like I'm going to break my foot in your ass in terms of like a physical threat, but that was another odd phrase that came across my plate this week.
Or maybe I'm throwing brakes on other people behind me.
That could be it as well. Like I'm making other people brake because I'm so speedy, I'm weaving through the lanes.
Yeah, it's like a
it's like those I can't
banana peel.
Okay.
Yeah, or the shell.
We can throw it backwards. Sure. Okay. So, all right, Ryan, he's working on his net. Penn gets it first. Forgot he was wearing the glasses with the celebration that they waits for Kayla.
How am I supposed to do that then?
Right? Do they wait?
No, they run up. I believe Raquel and Kayla, I think, they finished soon afterwards, and they're like, they ran off in this direction. The Raquel and Kayla, Penn and Kim stuff really only culminates in the very beginning, right? Where, again, Penn and Kim help navigate where to get to. They miss the turn. Raquel and Kayla make the turn. Kim and Penn are pretty peeved. Raquel and Kayla feel bad. They stick behind to wait for Kim and Penn after the cheese, and now everything is fine. So that is the short-lived drama of this episode of The Amazing Race.
Yeah, we gotta get something in there.
I'm really hard up for drama this week.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. BetterHelp wants to tackle some of the stigmas around mental health. For example, Many people may think that therapy is for other people, portable than in. What's so great about what's about the White Cliffs of Dover?
They're the first thing you see when you're leaving the European continent to go to the British Isles, and they are, there's a famous poem about Dover Beach. There is, if you've seen the movie Help, there's a running gag about the White Cliffs of Dover.
Okay. I'm pretty sure there's also a song about the White Cliffs. It's one of those, 1940s, wartime songs, but I'm pretty sure there's a song about the White Cliffs of Dover.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. As popular as Donald Where's Your Trousers?
I mean, it might have been the British equivalent.
More. Okay.
Donald, where's your White Cliffs?
Okay. The White Cliffs of Bonifacio. That's where we will have our pit stop for this leg of the race. So get there and then race up and look for Napoleon to point you in the right direction.
We couldn't afford a sign, so here, sir. Here, Maurice, please dress up in this Napoleon costume and just point where to go.
Yeah.
I feel like a sign would have been cheaper.
Fuck.
It's just so odd. It's like, look for Napoleon. Like, oh, he's over there. Also, I should not be here. I should be exiled.
I should be bowling.
Yeah.
Eating a giant bowl of ice cream.
I should be a Ziggy Piggy eating my mac and cheese.
Noted Napoleon impersonator Billy Garcia was not available.
I forgot about the Napoleon Billy part. Sacre bleu, you have been eliminated.
So
That's a deep pull, guys.
Very deep for this.
Only 90s kids will remember Reality Game Masters.
You can Google it. Okay. It seems like Napoleon was just standing around, and then you had to find him, and then he would point to where to go.
I guess.
Seemed like
I don't know.
There's only one path. It looked like.
Yeah, it was like go up the stairs and go down the stairs.
I did love the directions in that I've not seen a more climactic cut to an external shot of a pharmacy, I think, than the Amazing Race of we found the pharmacy.
The pharmacy.
The pharmacy. That should guide us to where the pit stop is, to our assumptive first place.
It's like that's more exciting than half the scenes in the Goonies. Oh, the pharmacy. We found the pharmacy. We found the pharmacy.
The alleged pharmacy.
Okay, so Kim and Penn, they make it to the mat. They are team number 1. Here's some infusion from Stefan.
Is he like the Stefan the mixologist?
Yeah.
His leg had everything.
Yeah,
His drink has everything.
Maggot cheese.
Sweat.
We said we wanted mac and cheese.
No. I refuse. That's not artistic enough. We're in France. We're in Corsica. We're amongst the limestone cliffs of the equivalent of Dover. What do you think we're doing here?
Yeah.
It's got the Bonifacio fishing net. And that's when you have to sit on the dock and tie little tiny knots in a fishing net.
Yeah. Jess, has this been the booziest season of The Amazing Race?
Honestly, I've not seen many Amazing Race seasons where you had to do booze more than once. There have been ones where you have to serve beer and you're not allowed to drink it. And there was one where you had to do a shot of vodka off of an ice slide. But
ice luge, yeah.
Yeah, it's not something that
the keys up
they
there.
weave
I didn't
into
see
the
that.
narrative quite this way. And I'm all for it. Honestly, I have long gone on record as saying we need to have more tasks where you have to do a shot every time you get it wrong.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe the alcohol was in case any of those maggots are still around? Let's just,
Oh, that's interesting.
I think we'll
What do you think? There's pesticide in there?
Oh, it was alcohol.